Good morning. Well, now John records a very strange event. Because having fed these 5,000 people and making sure they had sufficient so they could get to their homes and do all that they needed to do, they weren't going to starve on the way, they weren't going to be destitute as they tried to get home. Jesus says to his own followers, his own apostles, well, you get in the boat. There must have been a boat there somewhere. He said, now, you go across to the other side of the Sea of Gallilee. Go back home over there. Go over there. I'm going to stay here praying for a while. So they obey him and they go. And as they went across the sea, suddenly they found that they were in a bit of difficulty. They were fishermen. They knew the sea. And they knew there was a storm coming up, and they were sort of rowing against the storm. And Jesus, who had left the group and gone up on a mountain to pray, looks out across the sea, and he can see that this boat is in fact struggling. And then in the night, we're told, he comes down from the mountain and he walks across the water. You see, what John wants to show us is that he is in complete control of all the elements. He walks across the water. Normally, he would travel in a boat. Let's be understood about that. This wasn't his preferred means of transport. But on this occasion, there was no boat. On this occasion, his followers were struggling in the boat. So he walks across the water and they see him coming. They think, this is impossible. You know, they'd seen the turning the water to wine. They'd seen him multiplying the bread and the fish. They'd seen many, many miracles. Now, here was this man walking across the water towards them. And they cry out. And Jesus says, it's all right, it's only me. And then he gets into the boat. An amazing experience. Now, as we look at this experience in the other Gospels, we find a lovely story about Simon. Simon says, Lord, if you're walking on the water and you tell us to do what you're doing, then command me and I will walk on the water as well. And Jesus must have thought, oh, Simon, Simon, you always want to take that extra move, don't you? You always want to move forward. You really want to do it, don't you? He says, okay, Simon, you want to do that? You get out of the boat and you walk towards me as well. And the amazing thing that Simon gets out of the boat, such is his faith. He gets out of the boat. He's looking towards Jesus. He says, I'm coming, Lord, I'm coming. And he starts to walk across the water. And he's doing it as well. But the trouble is, of course, he starts to look around himself. I'm walking on water. That's not possible. There's lots of waves. I'm going to be in trouble. And suddenly his faith starts to evaporate. And he says, Lord, I'm sinking, I'm sinking, I'm sinking. As he starts to go down, and Jesus reaches out his hand and grabs him, and he says, oh, Simon, Simon, of so little faith. Little faith? He'd actually walked on the water. It's only when he saw all the other dangers and all the other problems that he suddenly loses his faith, and Jesus gets him back into the boat. See, John wants to show that Jesus has control over the elements of this life. We are going to be told again about another time when Jesus was in the boat, and this time he'd gone to sleep. There's a place in the back of the boat where there were cushions and things, and he'd gone to sleep on the cushions. He was probably quite exhausted from the ministry. And again a storm comes up. They were crossing the Sea of Galilee. It's a place of quick storms and can be very dangerous at times. But a storm comes up, and the disciples are rowing against the storm, and they realize they're in trouble once again. And they say, he's fast asleep, he's fast asleep. So finally they come and they shake him and they say, quick, we're really in trouble, we're really in trouble. We're in the midst of this storm. And again, you see, Jesus gets up in the middle of the storm and he realizes what's happening. He's been asleep. And he says, peace, be still. Or stop it, or whatever else he might have said. John puts it in very polite language sometimes. But he just spoke to the storm. He says, stop it. And immediately the storm stops. Stops. Jesus in control of the elements. He can walk on water. He can turn water into wine. He can feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. He is in complete control. He knows what your needs are. He knows what my needs are. He knows what we need tomorrow. He knows what we need today. He knows what's going to happen in 10 years' time. Yes, 10 years' time. Because he's the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end of all things. He sees all things. He is part of the Godhead. He sees all things. He knows all things. He knows you and he knows me. He knows everything about you. He knows everything about me. But listen carefully. Knowing everything about you, he has chosen you that you can share eternity with him. Yeah. Knowing everything about you and everything about me, he has chosen us that we might share eternity with him. That's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. You know, I can't fool him, you see. I can't fool him. I'll come back to this again tomorrow for a while before we carry on. Amen.